When was the moment you realized you didn't really fit in with your friend group anymore? In college, I went through a transition. I had all these old friends from high school that were comforting, but had slowly lost everything we had once in common. I'd made new friends with the people my then boyfriend hung out with, and we all seemed to jive better. But being 20, I still had fantasies that my old friends and my new friends would combine into some big happy friend group. For my 21st, I invited my boyfriend's friends and my old friends to join me at a bar together. One of my old friends bailed, one came but complained about the place, the food, the music, and the men until she found one she liked and left with him. And my quote-unquote best friend from high school came, absolutely strung out, cried when no one wanted to go smoke with her, got jealous when people bought me shots, and got picked up by some other loser we went to school with and said I was a square for not joining to go take pills with her. The three new friends were flabbergasted. They asked if we could start the night over. I remember distinctly that all of this had happened and it was not quite 10 p.m. That was the moment I realized that my old friends weren't really my friends at all, but more people I had been in proximity to for a while. I agreed to roll a do-over for the night and we ended up having a great time. They were bridesmaids at my wedding. They are the grandparents to my children. I genuinely don't have friends that didn't meet my husband first, and I would never have it any other way. They're all lovely. Alright, hold up. Is anybody else getting How I Met Your Mother vibes off of this story, at least by the ending? Cool. Story 2. Reminds me of some of my online friends. At one point, I was stupid and was like, all these girls are nice. Maybe I can introduce them to each other since they all have me as a friend in common. Big mistake. I added them all to one convo or something back during MSN Messenger days and talked a bit. They seemed to get along, then never really heard about them talking much at all after that, so I was like, meh, I tried. Later, one of my so-called friends ended up making up a person to talk to me with who was being mistreated by a BF and uncle situation, and talked to me as the girl after introducing me to her. Her sis apparently played a part of being the girl the first convo while I was typing with both of them, then she took over the rest of the time. It was really sad and all that hearing about this girl's life and trying to help her feel better and trying to get her to find help, etc. I eventually caught her being my other friend while I was offline and could see her log in, then log out, then my friend log in, then log back out, then her log in, etc. in a very short specific time frame. So it didn't take a genius to realize she was pretending to be the other girl. I then played along for a week or two before I finally got tired of the boring pretend and made jokes, etc., which caused the girl to leave then my friend, claiming she hasn't heard from her, like insinuating she ended it all, etc. She just kind of dropped it and never brought it up again. Later on, after catching her lying about other stuff, because I gave this friend way too many second chances, she claimed she was going to come clean about all the lies and came clean about like 2 of them. I asked her if that was it. She said yeah, then I confronted her on the fake girl and she was all surprised like, OMG, you knew? And confessed to that as well. I was still friends with all those friends and talked to them about it after that. Each friend I told about it was like, oh, she finally told you, huh? What? Apparently they all knew because she told them and didn't bother to tell me or let me know. This went on for at least months, maybe a year, and they knew about it but didn't say anything to me. I realized then and there that I made a huge mistake introducing them to each other since all it did was cause them to talk to each other more and be okay with hiding lies from me. They all ended up being crappy friends in the end anyways, but still upsetting, you know? So yeah, there was no benefit at all to introducing them to each other. Story 3. I was standing in line to get into a bar with friends. The friend in front of me, Jason, was bumped and backed up and stepped on my new shoe. I gently placed my hand on his back, more to keep him from falling, and said, whoa bud, my shoe. Dude turns around and sucker punches me. Without knowing what's going on, I'm laying on the ground with him standing over me. I wasn't really in danger. I protected my head when I fell and was in a position to roll him into traffic if he tried to swing down on me. After a few moments of me asking him confused why we are playing on the sidewalk, nothing happens. He lets go when the bouncers get to noticing and he walks away. Everyone is dumbfounded at what happened. Problem is, not one person asked if I was okay. Not one left to go get a drink with me. No one was overly concerned about this unprovoked attack except to see if Jason was alright. Okay, whatever. I leave, and as I'm walking home, I call who I thought was my best friend at the time to hash out what just happened. No answer. Then like 5 minutes later, I get a call from Jason talking crap and referencing the voicemail I had just left my best friend. She let him and the group listen to it and ridicule me. The most hurtful part was this line. I still remember vividly to this day. Insert my name here. No one wants you here. No one invites you. You're just there. It hurt because it confirmed something I always felt. See, I only met this friend group through my true brother, a best friend. They all loved him and he wouldn't chill without me, so they just tolerated me to hang out with him. Well, after he passed, it just always felt like they were pity friends. I pushed that feeling down, but that line totally confirmed it. I'm just one of the out of focus background guys to the group. Never got a follow up call from any friend, never got any reasons why the attack. Just sat at home, stoned, sober, and realized this was a blessing. I cut out every single friend I had from that group, including my a-hole bestie. Screw you, Joes. Story 4. I just noticed that anytime I hung out with them, I was irritated. We had all been a great friend group from middle school through high school, but as we progressed through our 20s, priorities and things that we all found fun changed drastically. I could not stand the people that they became friends with outside of our friend group, and those people couldn't stand me. One of the incidents that stands out most in my mind is that while spending the evening with this friend group, I put lipstick on and then proceeded to be judged by all of the other girls in the room, with them all saying, I hate makeup. I think anyone who wears makeup is superficial. I was also irritated at the way that they conducted themselves in terms of making plans. I'm a very impatient and spontaneous person, but I am at least aware that a little bit of planning is required when deciding to go on camping trips or travel to another state or country. These folks were kind of the same and just went by the seat of their pants. It would wind up being one of the more stressful times because no arrangements had been made in advance and no research had been done. They also would never give me solid answers if I invited them to things like concerts. I would wind up missing out on things because I didn't want to go to them by myself, but my friends would never say yes or no until it was too late. Story 5. As I've grown up, I've started to notice the I'm not like other girls attitude and general chaos that surrounds them. I also received eye rolls and comments when I've worn makeup around them, and they have made me feel like I'm high maintenance or something just because I like to look nice. Being spontaneous is great, really, but so often the consequences of their lack of preparedness falls to the more responsible in the group to fix. If you go camping, someone will forget something like a sleeping bag or not bring enough food or water and on, and the rest of us will have to step in to fix it. They also have this habit where if they come to my house on a Friday night, they will all, plus their 4 to 6 giant dogs, just stay until Sunday night or Monday. I hate this, obviously, but they do it because they all live together in college in a house, and that's just what they do now, 8 years later. That and only 2 of us in the group live in houses and the rest in vehicles. A lifestyle choice, not a financial one. So it's not like they have anywhere to invite people over. It wasn't until I made new friends outside this group that I noticed how rude and embarrassing they can be. About a year ago, I became completely overwhelmed by their behavior, and I put my foot down, and we haven't had them over since. Story 6. They all decided to hang out at the mall without me, not knowing I was also at the mall and I saw them. One of the girls had her boyfriend call me to see if I'd cover his shift at work so they could keep hanging out. Them not inviting me was normal, but them trying to get me to work extra so they could spend more time together was a new low. There was another girl who always claimed to be feeling left out too, and they had her text me and pretend she wasn't with them that day even though she was. So they tricked me on top of it. I lost it and cussed them out when they kept calling me about taking the work shift. It wasn't my finest moment. I spent the next year being isolated in every class in school because that group and anyone that had been friends with both me and them before all chose them, and I had absolutely no friends. It was a year of hell, and I ended up apologizing because the loneliness was so hard. Luckily, it was my senior year of high school, so I dropped them all after that. Good riddance. Most of them turned out to be pretty crappy people and are not the ones you hear about that grow up after high school. They all still hang out together, though. Props to this girl for realizing what she deserves. Oh, and since you are halfway through the video, and I'm hoping you're liking the story so far, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Story 7. When it became clear that I wasn't a priority for the group, I was going through stuff and had a lot of anxiety for the first time, and I would just get made fun of for not wanting to go out with them. We just did the same crap all the time, and it used to be fun in high school, but by college I needed some different experiences. I also just felt like I was a role player on the team, and I felt like I had so much more to offer. I ended up going away to college and trying to start my own friend group, and although it wasn't as successful as I wanted it to be, I met my best friends there and it opened up so many more experiences. Lastly, and still to this day, I'm not supported as much as the rest of the people in the group. All my friends in the group are really talented, whether it be in photography, music, and art in general, but whenever one of them releases a new project, they all rave about it. I've been making music for 10 years now and have dropped 4 albums, and not one time have any of them reposted or shared anything I've done or even seemed remotely interested in. This is why I feel the way I do, because I know if any one of them did what I did, they would be paraded around, and it's like I can do all this, but even better, and nobody even cares. It's whatever. I always wish the best for them, and they invite me out every once in a while, but it's obvious it's not the same, and it never will be. Basically, I just felt like Kobe right before they traded Shaq. Like, I didn't get the respect I deserved and wanted to prove that I could do it on my own. Story 8. We were all good friends, all girls, about 10 or so of us. One girl started an argument in our group chat because apparently some of the other girls were talking smack about her. And honestly, I was really confused about the whole situation. Anyways, so they kept arguing, and later in the day, me and the girl who started the argument, let's call her Sam, got on the phone and were discussing the whole thing. So, from what she told me, I was surprised, but for some reason, all of our friends were against her. So, me, being the good friend I am, just decided to stay with Sam because I didn't want her to be all alone. This resulted in all our friends to be against the both of us now. All of a sudden, we are the most horrible, terrible friends, and honestly, I didn't even take part in this argument. But they turned against us and talked smack about us, and Sam was the only one who would say stuff back. I'm a cool person, laid back, minding my own business, so I didn't even say anything. But after that, me and my friend group never resolved our issues, and it was very awkward if we were ever together. But it made me realize that it was a very unstable friend group and filled with fake and toxic people, which I didn't realize until looking back in retrospect. But I am happy I don't talk to them anymore and that I choose my friends wisely now. Oh yeah, BTW, Sam blocked me out of nowhere around January, I believe, just to go back to one of the girls that literally was talking bad about her, but I'm happy. I don't talk to her anymore because she was for real toxic and got mad when I befriended her ex just so I could help them out. They were both still in love with each other but didn't know what to do, so I kinda just passed info between them two, and she knew I had a thing for this other guy who was now my almost 9-month BF, and she still thought I was trying to do something with her ex. Her ex told me about it, and at that point, I really just stopped caring about it at all. It was a very hard start to 2024. I mean, first, my mom and dad separated, then I lose my group of friends, then my BSF cut me off because of his GF. I don't know why, to be honest. And then Sam blocks me. Yeah, I got over it, and I'm doing so much better now. Me and my BF mind our own business, and we're happy. Story 9. When I realized that even though I bent over backwards to help them and be there for them, they chose to automatically believe someone else saying I was talking behind their back. Instead of just coming to me and asking me if what was said was true or not, they automatically assumed the bullcrap was true, and I essentially get alienated from the group/family after a big potential for a fight. I was able to assure them that the BS wasn't true, but that didn't stop them from taking the other friends' side over mine. So yeah, that's the moment I realized I don't fit in with them or any group anymore. That is also the moment I realized to trust no one, because no matter what you do, they are likely to stab you in the back regardless of if you are the one who walked long distances through rain and sleet, hail, snow, etc., just to bring them food to make sure they ate. Also, using your paychecks to help them instead of saving it up and never just helping yourself. Story 10. This was a few years ago. Don't get me wrong, people have political beliefs and that's fine. But with these people, it felt like that was their entire identity. There are people who are liberal leaning, then people who live, breathe, and snort being liberal, if you get what I mean. It got to a point where I didn't feel like I belonged since I didn't really push out my political views as harshly as they did. And it grew to a point where I got scared to actually share my opinion when they asked for it because it felt like if I didn't agree, then they saw me as a horrible person for not having the same way of thinking as them. After some time, I politely excused myself from that Discord group and asked the admin to go ahead and tell them I left because I felt like I didn't click anymore. Fast forward a few years, and I was still talking with one person who also left that group. I thought we were fine until I expressed some concern over a recent incident that happened, and they started to tell me why I was wrong for feeling concerned. I told them that I didn't really exactly line up to the same thinking they did and wanted to politely back down from the conversation. But before I could even type something out, they left the DMs we had with one phrase: "I was friends with you for so long because I thought I could change you." Now that sucked to read, to be honest, not gonna lie, but I can happily say now that I have friends who don't care for my political beliefs. We appreciate intellectual diversity in our group, and we never got into an argument about them. In fact, we can talk about our different sides every now and then without fear of being shunned for not having a hive mind. It feels nice, and I wish more people thought this way. Story 11. I had these friends that would act horrified if you didn't get their obscure references. If it was as good as you say, it'd be mainstream or underground popular. They claimed anything mainstream I enjoyed was too cliche and would make fun of my optimism and energy. They dressed in all black and did nothing but talk about their mental illnesses, how nobody understood them, and how the world was on fire. I remember hanging out with them one day and thinking to myself, all they do is crap on anything and everything positive. They want people to feel sorry for them but take 0 steps in bettering themselves. I cut ties after that, and it was one of the smartest decisions I ever made. I was listening to music on YouTube and I discovered Get Well by Icon for Hire. That song was my entire experience. Sitting around talking about my depression, anxiety only made things worse. I wanted to do something, better coping methods, etc. I've long since learned to avoid people just like that. Story 12. I work for an organization and have been there for 3 years. I've seen people come and go, and as of recently had a small group of about 8 that I would have considered myself being close to. I'm an introvert and I find it hard to make friends, so these people I trusted with my life. Before things went downhill, I felt as though they would invite me to events if I was within earshot of hearing it. Otherwise, I'd see Instagram or snaps of them partying or going out to dinner. One person in particular was considered the mom in the group. She was the one I could do everything with and trusted with my life. One day I went to visit. I always went to visit my supposed friends when I wasn't working. And the second she saw me, she started to give me attitude. I ask her what's up, and she explodes on me. She yelled at me for something out of my control. I had recently gotten promoted and she just assumed I had the same responsibilities as the old guy in my position. I tried explaining to her and also how my promotion hadn't taken effect and she wasn't having any of it. From that point on, I tried explaining my side to our small group of friends. Not one took my side. Most took hers, saying she was right and like 2 were just flipping between us both. From then on, I began to distance myself from them. Out of all of them, 1 kept tabs on me. The rest wouldn't even bat an eye to me, as though I was a new guy who inconvenienced them unless they had complaints for anything that might have occurred on my shift. All I can say from my bad storytelling and long rant is that I'm glad I got to see them for who they are. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a few lessons on friendships in this one. And if you made it this far, I'm also sure you're going to enjoy Why Did You Nope Out of a Friendship? Story 4 was mad crazy, and you might find yourself doing the same thing anyway too. I'll see you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.